Hello there, this is a lesson for normal distribution again. Looking at this with a view to try to do some questions in reverse, some backward questions. Very often in maths these are the hard ones, but they're not particularly bad with the normal distribution. So let's have a look at what we need to be able to do. So a little starter, this is what we've seen so far. This is a find the probability question. These are the standard questions that we get on the normal distribution for maths. And it says, assuming that the heights of adult women are normally distributed with mean 164 and standard deviation 5, find the probability a randomly selected adult woman is these things. Okay, so what do? Well, I'm going to start off, obviously on part 1, I'm going to draw a curve. And I'm going to put, what was the mean? It says mean is 164. And I want the probability that under this, I want this. So if you just remember what we do in here, we write down a lower and an upper value when we go into menu 7 on the class whiz. So the lower will be the negative infinity, which we write as minus 9999. It's almost always good enough. And 174 is the upper value. Sigma, now what was this? The standard deviation was 5. And the mean was 164. And all we do is type that in. So you can do these. You can do all three of them. Don't wait for me. Just pause the video and see if you get the same answers as me. But I'm going to carry on regardless. So menu 7. And 2, it's always normal CD. So negative 9999, 174, 5, and 164. So what's that? 0.977. So this I get to be 0.9772. Over 160, so exactly the same idea, but this time now my picture looks like this. So 164 in the middle, you can see over 160 is over here somewhere, and again it's going to be more than half. This time my lower is going to be the 160. My upper is going to be infinity. So I'll write 9999 and I just type that in instead. So I've got 160. And 9999, the sigma and the mu haven't changed, so I get 0.788. And I did say I thought it'd be more than half, and it is more than half. 0.788. And these in between ones, I think are the easiest ones, because you get two numbers to write down. So I'm just going to change my lower this time to 170. Oops, I did that wrong. 170. My upper is 175, and the mu and the sigma don't change. I get a very small amount this time. This is 0.101. So there's my three answers. Now, I think on the next slide I've got the three answers. 101,788. Did I get that? Yes, I did. And 977. Yeah, so all those. Good. So this is now the crux of today's lesson. Last lesson we found probabilities. Now we're going to be given probabilities. We're going to work backwards through a problem. Sometimes they don't look like probabilities. They dress them up to be proportions or percentages and stuff. But basically they give you a probability, and you have to work out some other piece of information. Now the nice questions are the ones that ask you to find x. If they ask you to find x, those questions are relatively easy to do. We can use the class whiz to do these in reverse, and the button on our calculator says inverse normal from memory. So the way to find that is you go menu 7 and then you press 3 inverse normal. So this is how we work backwards. An inverse sounds perfectly reasonable button to press to make it do that. But bear in mind there are times when instead of asked to find x, we are asked to find either mu or sigma, or actually both of them. And in those cases we have to use this thing called the Z formula. And these are definitely more difficult. The Z formula we've seen before, and I did warn you there was a reason why I wanted you to see it, and it's for now. It's for this reason now when we have to find mu or sigma or both at the same time. And the only way we can do this using the class whiz is to use this formula. There's no other way. So x's are good. If I ever want an x value, I don't need this formula. If I want a mu or a sigma, I will need this formula. So this example then says, given that x is normal, 17525. So obviously this is meant to represent the mean, 175. And the remember, this is the variance, so sigma squared is 25, but we know that by now, we know that sigma is 5. And it says, oh look, find x, given that the probability of x is less than x is 0.9. Now, always draw a picture, so I've drawn a little picture for you here. Now, the probability x is less than x is 90, well look, this is 90%, so this is almost all of it. And there's almost all of it is less than some number. So you can see for that reason, if this is the middle, 175, which is bang there, but it means that anything less than some number over here has got to be 90% of it. So that's 90%, 0.9 if you like. And you know, you can see this tiny little slither over here represents 10%. Now, whenever we get these, there's a button on our calculator that we like using, which is menu 7.3 inverse normal. So type it into your calculator now, menu 7.3 inverse normal, and this button basically will let us know, as long as we tell it what area is underneath some value, it will tell us what the value is. So when we press this, have got to type this in. So we type in the area is 0.9. It's always the lower than figure. Notice sometimes, by the way, they give you the upper one, but here they have said it's less than. So 0.9 is what I type in. I type in my 5. I type in my 175. Let's do that now. 5 and 175. And what was the 0.9, wasn't it? Yeah. So I've got all that in now, and it tells me what my x value number is. It just says x equals 181.4. It's the easiest thing in the world. 181.4 is what I've got. So I've got 3 more questions now, which basically are going to do the same thing. It says, given that x is normal, and notice they give me my mu and my sigma. I only need to get concerned when they don't give me one of these. So I'll put my 40 down, that's my mean. So obviously we've got mu equals 40, and we've got sigma equals 4. And it says probability x is less than x is 0.95. This looks very similar to the last one. So I want x over here. This area which I'm shading it now is meant to be 95%. So again, I'm going to type in menu 7.3 inverse normal, and I will type in sigma equals 4, mu equals 40, and the bit I've missed out, of course, is this bit that goes first. Area equals 0.95. So let's do this now. 0.95, sigma is 4, 40. It just tells me my answer. So the first one, I'm just going to write x equals, for part A, 579, I've got 46.6, I'm going to say to 366. Do the same thing for the second one. Draw a little picture. Still got 40 down the middle. And it says probability x is bigger than some number is 0.68. Now notice this is more than half. That's important because if I was to draw it over here, and it's because they're bigger than, it would be, it's got to be a small amount. So I think this value that I'm trying to find, my x, that has got to be to the left because this represents more than half. This is 68%. So what do? I do menu 7.3 again. It's always going to be this. Now this is the bit which is different here because this is 68% is more than some value. I need this one. It's always the lower than value. And if that's 68%, this is 32%. So I'm going to write area equals 0.32. The other two bits are the same. My sigma is 4 and my mu is 40. So let's go with that. So I've got 0.32 this time. Everything else is the same. I get 38.1. So B, I've got x is 38.1, yes. And the last one, C. What have I got? The probability. Now I should point out here, well, we can't really see it, but it means that the middle section of the curve, either side of this, is 84%. We've seen this in class. And it basically says the modulus of this is less than some number. just spotted actually, it's actually written wrong. It should actually say, I'm going to cross this out, so it should actually say the probability that x minus mu, the distance from the mean, is less than some number. And we'll have a look at that in a bit. So equals 0.84. Now it's the middle part of this. So the mean is here. So really I could have written this example, written 174. The probability that x minus 174, since I know it's 174 in this case, is less than 0.84. So basically either side of this is the critical thing. We've got 84% in the middle. And we are trying to find these two values, x here and x here. And the way we do it is we effectively try to say to ourselves, there's 84% in the middle, it's symmetrical, it's got 16% left over for the two sides. So this must be 8%. And this must be 8%. So the different way we can work out this value here. This value here would be, I suppose 92% is lower than it, because 8% is more than it. So I'm going to type in area equals 0.92. I've got a sigma still 4, I've got a mu equal to 40. Let's type that in. Now I've got, let's just get this right, 0.92. 4 and 40 doesn't change. Now this says, and my x inverse is, have I got that right? Oh yeah, I've just realised I made a mistake. It's not 174. Was that the last question? That's 40. So this is 40. So when I've done this then, I've typed it in, I've got 45.6. This value here, x, is 45.6. And by symmetry, that's 5.6 more than it. I can take 5.6 off of it. This value here is 5.6 lower than it, which would be 34.4. So just bear those in mind. I don't think the answer is going to say that, because it did say 45.6, but yeah, it's only given me the right hand one. I'm going to come back to those properly. I think I'm not convinced that's properly done, but it's pretty close to properly done. Now I've got one example here, which is a wordy example. After undergoing some surgical technique, patients spend a mean time of 5.3 days in hospital, standard deviation 0.575. So okay, let's go to the next one. I'm just going to write that down before I forget it. X is normal, 5.3 I think it said, and 0.75 was the standard deviation. I'll need to check that I've written those right. Yes, I did, yeah. Find the probability a randomly selected patient will spend less than 4 days in hospital. Well, this first question is just a straightforward find the probability. It's 5.3. What's the probability that if I pick some patient at random, they'll be under 4 days? So I think this is menu 7.2. So I'm just doing it now, menu 7.2. And I type in the mean of 5.3. And well, first of all, I need my lower. My lower is minus 999, and my upper is 4. My sigma is 0.75, and then what was it? 5.3. So I've typed it in. It just tells me, oh, very low actually. Probability that x is lower than 4 equals 0.0415. So quite a low probability that. Let's go back to the next part of the question. It is decided that the hospital is deemed to be formed unsatisfactory if 10% spend more than t days in the hospital. Find this number t. So I suppose, again, same picture. T is over here, I think, because it's more than some number. And it says this is 10%. That's 10%. So notice, this is 90%. So menu 7.3 this time. And when I type in menu 7.3, my area has got to be 0.9. Still using 5.3 and stuff for the other ones. So with those typed into my calculator, I get, well, it says an x inverse equals, but my x equals 6.26. So is that what it says? 6.26 days. Now I've got one question to show you in class. There it is, and we'll try to do it in class. Won't do it now. But then we're going on to exercise 17C. So hopefully they're okay, and we can make good progress. All the best.